Now, to delve into the story from a political angle, I'd like to bring back in our international affairs editor, Armen Georgian. Armen, thank you for being here. Now, we haven't really seen, certainly not in our lifetime, scenes like this in the US. But this is where we're at today. We are looking at an America which is more polarized than ever before.
That's true, and it makes it very hard, I would say, pretty much impossible for Joe Biden to heal America, as he's been saying he will try to do for several weeks. What does that really mean when the two Americas have been in this slow divorce for such a long time, Sanam? And frankly, the whole hyper-partisan atmosphere existed before Trump. It's got worse, I think it's fair to say, in the last 4 years. But he didn't invent this hyper-partisan politics. I mean, you know, the time when Congress actually took genuine bipartisan action, that feels like something from a completely different era that doesn't exist anymore. In terms of the media, of course, for many years before Trump as well, partisan media were telling these two Americas what they wanted to hear. On the one side, that Trump is basically a white supremacist and a budding dictator, and on the other side, that the Democrats are going to try to turn the US, this freedom-loving US, into a socialist, Venezuela or Cuba, if we let them. This has been the narrative for the past 4 years, but it was also there in some sense beforehand. And, similarly, if you look at the right-wing or left-wing populist developments in America, they predate Trump as well. You might well remember the Tea Party, that whole backlash against Barack Obama in the late 2000s. The Tea Party, of course, being one of the elements that then fused with other kind of populist movements and became the Trump movement, in a sense. At least it's kind of very much related to the Trump movement. And then on the left also, the fact that someone like Bernie Sanders actually had a fighting chance in 2016 and 2020, again, hard to imagine that in another era of democratic politics. So, a move to the right by part of the Republican Party, clearly, and a move to the left by part of the Democratic Party.
As you say, really difficult to imagine that all this has happened in just 4 years under the administration of this very man, Donald Trump. Something I want to talk to you about, Armen, and this has been we've been hearing about this since last night when the event started to happen in Capitol. Let's talk about Section 4 of the 25th Amendment of the Constitution, which is being discussed by a number of senators and politicians in the US. Could that actually be used to remove Trump, certainly in the next 2 weeks before Joe Biden takes over?
Yeah, so there's some Democratic politicians who are talking about invoking the 25th Amendment, they say, to preserve democracy, because they think that Trump could be a danger even in the last 2 weeks, given the scenes in the U.S. Capitol last night, and given that Trump is seen as essentially inciting that mob. What this section would mean is that a sitting president, can be removed temporarily or for good, either by his own will or not, but it's only been used before for kind of medical situations, and it's been
physical ailments.
Yeah, physical ailments. It's actually only been invoked voluntarily. So George W. Bush said, "Okay, I'm going to hand over power momentarily while I get surgery." Ronald Reagan did the same thing. And actually, when Donald Trump caught COVID, there was a discussion about whether the 25th Amendment would be used if his condition had deteriorated. But as far as I know, it's never been used politically, because, a president's behavior is just so, out there. Presumably, though, Vice President Mike Pence would have to get the ball rolling. At least this is what I'm getting from when I read what Democrats in Congress are saying. So not clear whether Pence, he didn't really take a major lead as Donald Trump wanted him to after Trump lost the election. Pence basically decided, we've got to accept the reality here and just get on with it, although he didn't quite say it like that. So I'm not sure that this is really actually going to happen in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. It may or may not. We've certainly seen enough unprecedented scenes over the past 4 years. And if it were to happen, as you said, it would be the first time that the 25th Amendment would be used to remove a sitting president under these conditions.
Yeah.
Arman, thanks so much for being with us throughout the day.